Hey, I know it's been a while since the last time I made a video, but I've got some big news. First, I got a letter from YouTube that says I no longer need to acknowledge how long it's been since the last time I made a video, so that's pretty neat. But more importantly, I'm excited to announce that this is now a movie review channel, and the first movie we're going to talk about just came out today, Across the Spider-Verse. Of course, what new Spider-Verse movie would be complete without the Air Jordan 1? In the films, Miles Morales wears the iconic Chicago colorway, and for each, Nike has released a companion version of that shoe with some fun details inspired by the series. But fun as they are, this reminds me of a trend in Air Jordans over the last couple of years that kind of has me concerned, and so... Yeah, I take it back. This is no longer a movie review channel. This is The Mouthful, my name is Ringer, and there's a question that needs an answer. Let's start with some history. In 1985, Nike introduced Michael Jordan's first signature shoe, the Air Jordan. Among the various color options, the red and white Chicago stands above the rest and is one of the most iconic and coveted sneakers of all time. Right now, an original pair of unworn 1985 Chicagos will set you back tens of thousands of dollars, and that's for a shoe you couldn't even wear without risking them immediately crumbling to dust. But in the mid-90s, Nike realized there was a lot of money to be made by re-releasing or retroing popular historic Jordan models. The evils of consumerism aside, this has been a godsend for sneakerheads, especially those who are newer to the hobby, as it offers a fresh chance to pick up a staple pair for a more reasonable price and, actually wear them. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Putting aside stock issues for a moment, there have also been lots of examples of Nike just not getting these retros right. And if you'll allow me to enter my nitpick era, I'll explain. What actually constitutes a good retro of a particular sneaker can be pretty subjective, but to me it's one that accurately captures the spirit of the original. The colors, color blocking, branding, shape, or materials may not be 100%, but they're close enough that someone wouldn't be able to easily tell the difference without closer inspection. One prominent example is how Nike sometimes decides to put the Jumpman logo on shoes that wouldn't have originally had it. Jordan 3s and 4s are the biggest offenders here, but there was a Chicago Jordan 1 from 2013 that included Jumpmans on the heel and tongue despite the logo not having existed when that shoe was originally made. Unforgivable. By this standard, in the nearly 40 years since the original, the Chicago Jordan 1 has only ever been properly retroed twice, once in 1994 and more recently in 2015. You may assume these newer pairs aren't nearly as expensive as the original 1985 pairs, and you'd be right, but not nearly as expensive is still pretty expensive, as a dead stock pair of 2015 Chicagos will cost you upwards of $1,500. It might not surprise you to learn that as a result, there's a high demand for shoes that capture the spirit of the Chicagos even if they're not quite the full package. The 2013s I mentioned earlier still demand $800 to $900 despite their anachronism, and in recent years there have been a host of interesting Chicago-adjacent collabs from Off-White, Trophy Room, Nike SB, and the aforementioned Spider-Verse. To be fair, I wouldn't consider any of these to be proper retros either, but that wasn't their intent. There's clearly a lot of inspiration taken from the original Chicago, but there's also a story being told through the partnership that makes each of these shoes its own new thing. Unsurprisingly though, all of these shoes are in high demand on the secondary market, and while that can be attributed somewhat to the names involved, the colorway also plays a huge part. This is most evident with the Spider-Verse pairs, especially the ones that just dropped, because the design details on them have been pretty polarizing. Even so, the fact that they're as close to a Chicago as some of us might ever get meant a lot of people were gunning for them. But this brings me to the pair that seems to be trying to straddle the line between a true retro and something new, the lost and found Jordan 1. Released late last year, the Lost and Found 1s are part of Nike's reimagined line of retros, a process that takes a beloved pair and adds some sort of twist. In this case, rather than a perfectly preserved pair of Chicagos, the Lost and Founds have an aged look to emulate a pair of shoes that has been found after decades of sitting in a storage room. In Nike terms, that just means making all the white parts slightly yellow and adding a cracked finish over the black and white leather areas. Some pairs were even delivered with mold on them for added authenticity. Jokes aside, I have to say I'm pretty tired of the new shoe but make it aged by yellowing the midsole trend. It can look kind of nice in press shots, but in my experience it doesn't look as good on foot as a normally aged pair of shoes. Anyway, obviously, there was unprecedented demand for the Lost and Found ones in spite of these creative liberties, because they're still the most accurate retro of the Chicagos in recent history at a time when sneaker culture is more widespread than ever before. And I don't fault anyone for wanting them. I certainly did, for the same reasons. Maybe they aren't as good as the 2015s, but they make up for it by being far more affordable, even on the secondary market. The same is true for the rest of the reimagined Jordans. Despite their lacquered appearance and inaccurate color blocking, the shattered backboard 3.0s from 2019 still resell for well above retail. Same goes for the 2021 patent bred ones, even though everyone's first Google search is how to dull patent leather. The reimagined white cement 3s are the most recent example, and to be fair, I kinda dig them, but I think that's mostly because they take a page from the beautiful A Ma Maniére 3s, and they're kind of a poor man's version of two shoes at the same time. But I'd still argue that in every case, these reimagined shoes are not as attractive or desirable as the source material and never will be, which honestly begs the question of why they exist at all. Oh, never mind, it's because of money. It's always because of money. The whole reimagined spiel is just a clever way of allowing Nike to have their cake and eat it too by keeping the true retros scarce, but still making close enough versions to cash in on our nostalgia and FOMO. And it works every time, which means the reimagined trend isn't going anywhere soon. Later this year, there will be a new version of the Royal Jordan ones with suede instead of leather, and then in 2024, they're switching things up with bred Jordan 4s that are leather instead of suede. And in all this, who knows how many more years will pass before some of these shoes see another proper release, if at all. Maybe in 2035 for the Chicago's 50th anniversary. Of course, if that happens, there's also the question of whether Nike will ever figure out how to manage their releases in a way that allows people to actually get them. The answer is no, but that's a topic for another time. Anyway, it all sucks, don't get into sneakers. But do like, comment, subscribe, or whatever, and if you have a question you want me to sink my teeth into, you know where to reach me. Thanks for watching, have a nice day, Ringer out.
Now let's all agree to never be creative again.